Sure.
So hi, Julia. Welcome
André.
back. We are doing our very first official recording today, correct?
Yes.
Disrupt Life. We've been a little bit disrupted ourselves throughout the whole process because when we started this and we made our first introductory video, we had Christmas come, we had holidays. It was just a busy period, so we never actually got the chance to sit down and do any more recordings.
Yeah.
We have done 2 recordings, we're just not going to release them until a little bit later.
Yes.
Right, so here we are, February 2022, and we want to talk about today, I think essentially, life as expats, right?
Yes.
And we've both been living as expats ourselves for a number of years. We are both expats here in Germany, but before Germany, I've been living in Asia for a number of years, and you've also lived in South America, in the United Kingdom. So I think actually you've probably lived in more places than I have. Would that be fair to say? I think it is, because I've only lived in Asia.
I was living too in Brazil
Yeah,
and in South America, like you said before, in
Yeah.
Argentina.
yeah.
And I was living to 6 months in Egypt.
Oh, that's
For a
right.
long- for
Yeah.
a long time ago.
That must have been amazing.
Yes, in that moment was very nice, but I think I will not go in there.
No,
No,
Not again.
I would not like to go.
no, it's a bit
It's completely changed.
troubled at the
yes,
moment.
it's completely changed.
Yep.
Everything is going. I don't know because I didn't have been directly now to give an open opinion what is going there wrong.
Yeah,
But from people that I know it is like they went back.
yeah,
in the
yeah,
story.
yeah. They've regressed.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
regress all
Yeah.
the time in everything they do.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It seems like societies do that as well. If you look back in history, a lot of societies seem to have regressed.
Yeah, but many South of America is exactly the same.
Yeah,
You know, they have governments now. They choosing people again and again, making foul choosing people like dictator, communist dictator. You know, revolution.
Yeah.
And the end, they are going to be dictators
Yeah.
like the other ones,
Yeah.
and they are doing all the time. It's happening in Chile now and everywhere.
All right. Well, let's not get into that
No,
topic because that's a deep root hole you could get into for a long time. But
Yes.
what I really want, I guess we should try to talk about today in this episode is the differences that we've probably noticed as expats living in foreign countries, and you know, you and I, when we've spoken offline separately, we've discussed what our childhoods have been like, what environments we grew up in. I obviously in Australia and you in Spain, very, I guess you could say first world countries that are successful, happy, democratized, relatively good countries to live in. We both probably have been privileged in our childhood in many ways compared to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed when I moved from Australia to Malaysia was the dramatic differences between the cultures. Now that may sound like, yeah, duh, that's quite naive of you to say that, but I knew there was going to be a difference, but I guess what I wasn't aware of was just how stark that difference would be, just how dramatic.
Which are the difference? Can you tell 3 very strong difference between the people?
Yeah, well, first of all is the cultures,
Yeah.
because you've got essentially 3 main cultures living in Malaysia. You have the Malays, the local Malays, you have Chinese Malay, and then you have the Indian communities. So you've got 3 very diverse cultures living together in a what I guess you could say a relatively small area, and it's a fairly populated country. I lived in Kuala Lumpur, and it's very, very dense in its population. But I guess what I really noticed was the differences between those cultures. I mean, Australia is a multicultural country as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Asian immigrants
Foreign
coming
people there,
in,
yeah,
Vietnamese, Chinese. But for me, there was just this difference that I don't know how you could best describe it, but possibly economical difference. You know, in Malaysia, you're either very, very wealthy or you're very, very poor.
Yeah, the middle class is not
There's
so
a
much.
very small middle class. It exists, but it's very,
Yeah.
very small.
Yes.
And that's what I noticed is the poverty. You know, the amount of poverty that is in the country. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way or a negative way, because even though people have what you would say less than most, they were still very, very happy. They didn't give the impression that their lives were in any way tarnished by a lack of money.
Do you think it's just because maybe they have another way of thinking? It means, I think they think in different way about the die, about the illness, about the marriage and many things. Do you think they help them to be better persons or to be happy that we are?
I think it makes them tougher, definitely tougher, because you're right, their attitude towards life in general is very different. Their attitude towards animals is very different. You know, like we grow up with animals as, you know, like having pets as exactly that. They're members of the family, they're pets. We treat them almost at the same way we treat our children in many ways.
But in Asia, no.
Not all of them.
They eat them.
Sometimes, yes. And their attitudes towards the death of an animal is quite different. So it's interesting. I found that probably for me the biggest change. And then, you know, on the other side is from the poverty, then you have a higher crime rate. And, you know, the crime levels in Kuala Lumpur at the time were also quite high. And we were warned as foreigners when going in there by other expats and other locals, you know, just make sure if you don't put anything in your back pockets, always carry things in your front pockets. Don't leave anything in the car when you're parking the car. Don't leave anything on the table in the restaurants. You know, all of those things. Make sure if you have young children that you are always holding their hand in public, because kidnappings are quite common, and then the parents are held ransom. And I can give you
it was kidnapping common in the time.
Did
you have been there?
Yeah. In fact,
because in Argentina now it's very common. But when I was there. It was not, but now they kidnap you because everybody has a price in South of America.
Sure.
And normally it's $50.
$50?
Yeah, of course. You are not expensive as $50.
My goodness, $50, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, well, in Malaysia, look, I don't know if it's like that still now, because I left in 2013, so it's 8 years since I've been there. But in the time that I was there, kidnapping of wealthy children, whether they're local or from expats, it was quite common. And then they would be held ransom. And a lot of the times the embassies would arrange paying the ransom for the return of the child. It happened with one child that was going, I think, to my son's school or a friend where my son was going to school. At their school, a child was kidnapped, and it was a huge. Yeah, it was a huge. Yeah, it is horrible. Absolutely.
Did you have living there in a like a reservado, like a reserve? Because in
like a gated community, you mean?
Yeah, because in Argentina it's normal to be in the they call their what's the name now? I think quintas, and normally they are all closed, you know, very high walls and with control and security, and you can't come in if you are not invited official, and the doorman knows, you know, that you are coming, like invited person. Countries, they call countries. These little villas where they are with security and people with.
They exist.
A good social class or expats or people.
Exactly.
Yes, but it's the same in Argentina, in Chile, in Brazil, everywhere is the same, that you have these countries to live.
Yeah.
And it's more sure, but and for example, me, I never wanted to live in a country.
No.
I was living in downtown.
Yeah, we didn't either. We actually lived in a house outside of gated communities. We didn't want to do that either, because we felt that it's just, you're not immersing yourself with the community or the culture. You know, you might be living in a foreign country or as an expat, but you're not really experiencing that because you kind of protecting yourself in this bubble. Well, for us, that didn't make sense.
I always remember my father because he said everyone, you have to give the people an opportunity to show how they are. You know, don't think bad about them before you know the people.
Yeah, don't form assumptions of them before knowing them. Yeah.
Of course, you can take care, you know, and you have to, I think you have to develop your intuition as like a person, you know, to know who is there and to know the dangers, to can feel the dangers. This is very important to learn that and to give that your children as well.
Yeah.
You are always close in a society or in a family and you never go out and you have always the same glasses on. You cannot
That's right.
Feel the danger outside and to see where do you can go and where you can't.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is helpful if you are in a foreign country and you don't know so much. You have to put out your alarm, you know, your intuition, your body alarm to know where do you can go, where you not. And of course, inform yourself about the dangers in the cities if you are living there, or the risk. Which risk do you have as expat person? You know, and for you, it's very difficult to that the people think that you are Malaysian because you don't look like Malaysian.
No, I don't.
You are so north. You even doesn't look like Australian guy. You are looking more like a Sweden or something.
Yeah, well, my father was Dutch, so I get that. Yeah. That's where it comes from.
This is the reason it's impossible because I can be Brazilian or Mexican or Argentina.
You can.
Know. Yeah,
I can pass for that.
Yes. Now my hair is blonde, but it was more brown, and I could be a local girl.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
no, we stood out pretty clearly. We were foreigners.
Yeah.
But one time, you know, just coming back to the crime rate of it, I'll never forget. There was one time we were having a lunch in a restaurant. My mother was visiting us. Actually, I think it was a Christmas time or my birthday, or it was some reason that she came to visit us. And we were in the, you know, I guess you could say the more well-to-do suburb of Kuala Lumpur. It was a place called Bangsar, and that's where a lot of expats lived. And there was a lot of really nice restaurants there. And there was one restaurant where we were sitting. It was kind of semi-open to outside. It was on a busy street though. It had, you know, traffic going this way and traffic coming this way. And then as you came off the street, you kind of dropped down, and that's when the tables would start for the restaurant. So you had the footpath, and then it would drop down, and the tables for the restaurant would be kind of semi-outside, and then the restaurant would go inside. So we were sitting outside on one of the tables, and, you know, everyone told us don't leave things on the table, but mobile phones, handbags, wallets were on the table, okay? And we were just sitting there. We'd probably been there maybe 20 minutes, had a couple of drinks, talking, and then all of a sudden these mopeds go riding past, and there's these two guys sitting on the mopeds, and out of the corner of my eye, I kind of noticed that they're crawling along the street, you know, sussing the tables out, but it didn't occur to me that they would actually have the balls to stop the bike right at the restaurant there, to come off the bike, step down off the street into the area of the tables, and my wife had her handbag over her chair.
Yeah.
And of course, that for them was the target. So this young guy quickly scooped up her handbag and then ran out of the restaurant, or I should say just jumped out of the restaurant. And then for me, you know, because I hate anything that's taken from me, I get really, like, I feel this immense sense of anger. I hate when things are taken from me. And I was like, no, buddy, you are not going to do that. No, I was only dressed in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, but I was also wearing Birkies, like Birkenstocks, right? So open-faced shoes, not shoes that you can run in, for sure. And it's really hot there, and the road is very hot too because of the sun.
Got your Birkenstock.
So I chased these guys up the street because I was determined, absolutely determined, they're not going to get away with it. And they had no idea that I'd chased them. So they were kind of thinking they got away with it. They were riding away, talking to each other, laughing. And I was maybe that far away from grabbing the guy on the back of the bike and then just being able to rip him off. But as soon as he turned around and he saw that I was so close, and he must have seen this crazy white guy with the red face coming after him. And he's like, whatever he said in Malay, he said, go, 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 go. And then his buddy floored it a lot faster, and then they took off. So I couldn't reach them. But I was like this far away. Yeah. So my wife at the time, she obviously lost all her money, the credit cards, bank cards, ID cards, entire wallet, phone, everything. So, all of those things can be replaced, but it's just the inconvenience of it all. And of course, having something taken from you. But I just hate that, And for me, that was probably the thing that would really kind of make me feel like I don't really enjoy living in this type of environment when those things happen to you and can happen so easily. But, that's what it was
it's
like.
very funny because I try to remember if I was someone was stealing or taking something from me when I was, but I don't remember. I think it's never happened to me. Of course I got steal things from me, but in Spain, and in Germany, and and that's all. But not even in Mexico, not in Argentina.
Really?
Yes, not in Brazil. It's happened in other things, where I was thinking, because for example, when I was in Argentina, my father-in-law had a pocket with nothing. I think 100 pesos, or in that moment was the pesos and the dollar was in the same a la par, in the same
level.
Same level.
Yeah.
And I think 100 pesos. And someone took him in the corner. I stopped him in the corner and I said, give me your money. And he said, no. And then I was thinking, he's stupid, for 100 pesos or 200. Anyway, give them, give it.
Yeah.
And he got shot.
He was shot?
Yeah, he was shot in the knee.
Oh, my God. In the knee?
In the knee twice,
Ooh.
I don't know how many years got him to walk normally again, because he got a lot of operations there and everything just for 100 pesos. I think, sometimes, and he was living all the life in Argentina, and it's happened to him, and I was there like expat, and never happened something in that way to me. I never got in that year. Could be, but I never. But what I feel there was, for example, it's very strange when you are driving with a car. I was making a very.
It's okay. Keep going. Yeah.
A very big trip, about 9,000 kilometers with a car, all the Panamericana, and coming down until Ushuaia and Perito Moreno. It's a huge. Argentina is a huge country with a lot of kilometers. I think, I don't know, like Australia, but it's very, very, very big distance. And then I remember when I was driving through that, for example, and believe me, I didn't dream that. I was driving, and then you are driving in the Pampa, straight ahead without curves, maybe 50 kilometers straight ahead. Like 50. I schwöre, 50. So, and then I was, and then I was seeing a truck was coming, of course, in the other direction, the opposite way to me. And it was nothing there. It was nothing right, and it was nothing left. Just me and the truck, in that moment. And I promise you the truck wanted to kill me.
Really?
Yeah.
What gave you
I
that
don't know.
impression?
He tried to put me away from the road, with the car. I was very quickly, and I'm a woman, but I'm very good driver.
Yeah.
And
I can vouch for that.
and thank you. And then I could go on, and I was with my car. I had not a super car, but I had a Ford Mondeo. It was an amazing car for Buenos Aires in that moment, for Argentina in that moment, like a luxury car. And I give gas, and of course he couldn't make a round so quickly and take me. This once, another time was in Uruguay, exactly the same, but not with a car. In the night, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the night, we was driving from Montevideo to Oceania del Polonio, and it's a little road, it's not a highway. And they was the typical publicity displays on the road, on the left, on the right side. And someone, I just saw some shoes, turn shoes, there was like running behind the display, like something white was moving very fast down the display. And in the second I was crossing through, then I feel a very big push down the car, like a and I think
so something actually hit your car.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted to because I heard after that many robberies coming in the highway or in the cars or in the roads.
Yeah.
They take you stones, and then you have to stop.
Yeah.
And in the moment when you stop, they come.
That's when they get you.
Yeah. And I didn't stop, I didn't stop. I just give gas. I say, fuck you. Yeah. I was reacting very, very quickly, quickly in both occasions.
Yeah.
And some things happen, some strange things sometimes when you was thinking, you have to be very fast and reacting very fast. But in the city, I never feel danger. In Brazil as well,
Wow. Because there's a lot of crime in Brazil, isn't there?
Yes, but I never, because it was the time when I adopted my child.
Yeah.
And I always had in the hand a black little boy. And the people said always to me,
right.
They are like a Schutzengel,
like a protecting, like a guardian angel.
And nobody's going to do something to you if they see that you are with a little boy.
Yeah.
Black boy.
Well, like you also said before, you probably blend in a way that you don't look like a foreigner as well in those countries. So maybe that also had something to do with it too. You speak fluent Spanish, you don't come across as a foreigner.
I had nothing on. That's meant just a short and a top, and that's all, and flip-flops, and never more.
You dressed like a local. You dressed like you were living there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But one day we went to Mar del Plata. I never will forget that. And I was with 3 girlfriends there, making some holidays in south of Argentina, on Atlantic coast, and then. When I wanted to go driving out from the disco where we have been to enjoy, then before I start the car and go, the door from the car behind was open, and a guy was coming inside.
Into your car?
Into the car, yeah. And my girlfriends were sitting inside in the back, and one on the front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I think they went in the back and nobody was in the front. Okay. Or someone was. I don't remember. No, that's not true. He coming in the front and they coming in the back because they don't have place on the front and they sitting together behind. Maybe they was thinking, is someone I know?
Ah, right. Okay.
And they was friends, but they was not the super friends. Just went enjoying the disco one night, Mar del Plata, that's all. No? Yeah. And then I was looking at the guy and say, hey, what are you doing here? I say, you can drive me, I don't know where, and blah, blah, blah. My name is, for example, Arturo de Moreno, la, la, la. I don't want to say the name. And I say, and? You don't know what I am, and my father is a very important person. Do what I say. I say, sorry. I say, I think I am, I know exactly which is your name. I think your first name is maybe Ashloch,
Asshole.
The second name is bloody you, and the third name I don't want to tell. And you are now, you wake up maybe and go out from my car. And he said, no, I don't. I say, okay, then we drive. I give gas. I drive more or less, I think, 15 kilometers in the darkness. And I told my girlfriends, and they was reacting very quickly. I say, take the pistol, take the gun, put it there, And they was like that. I say, or you go out or I shoot you. What do you think? With who are you speaking? I'm not Argentina. I come from Spain. I promise you, I shut your bloody head. You go out here, and we leave it him. I don't know, middle of the forest, He said, yes, not seriously. You cannot leave me here. And I said, oh, yes, I can. And you go by feet back. Bye, you idiot. It's just, I always touch wood because I react, or I think how I can manage that situation. Maybe another person is going to be a little or
it's
or
a good thing he didn't
afraid.
call your bluff.
No, but it's really something's happened there. People is sometimes very strange. I think there are some maybe important in all these countries. What I was feeling, maybe I was feeling that more strongly that another persons who could feel that coming from maybe Germany or England or North Europe, because in Spain. All my life when I was little, I always was feeling the machismo, and I'm not feminist person.
Hang on. You were feeling the machismo, meaning you felt it was a very masculine environment.
Yes.
Okay. So very male oriented.
Yes, for example, I am a dictator child. I think I saw.
Yeah. So you grew up during Pinochet time.
No, with Franco time.
Sorry,
yes.
Franco time.
Yeah, and in that moment, and I think longer after that, I think my mother couldn't get money from the bank without the signatures from my father.
Yeah.
I could not move from the school with the signature from my father. My father needs to signature or allowed everything.
Yeah,
woman.
very patriarchal society.
Yeah. And even if in my house was not in that way, because my father was artist, he was pilot, he was a very open-minded person. Of course, was the laws there and to respect, to don't go in travel, and he couldn't change that just to unpass and just to do what the other ones do so long is necessary to do it. And I could feel that. And this is maybe the reason how I feel this machismo too, but extremely in those countries. In those countries, I always was feeling the woman in that moment. I'm reading from that moment, this is years ago. We are not so strong representations, we are not taken seriously from the other sides. This is what I always was feeling. I show all the time. I am very feminist. Be careful. I have another kind of education, even if I coming from very patriarchal country. It's not in my family. Never happened that way of education. Be careful with me, and I show that all the time. All the time I have to use it. It's that something I never use in Germany or in England, But in these countries, yes.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it's obviously, in Malaysia it's the same. It's a Muslim-based country, and it's very much a male-dominated society, and the female, obviously, unfortunately, is in many ways taking a back seat. And that's, even today, that hasn't changed. So society in that sense is still, that exists in some countries. I'll never forget, there was one time my wife at the time was driving on the highway, and the traffic was always very bad there. And she's a bit like you, she's very headstrong. She doesn't take shit from anybody, especially from men. So when she was confronted one time by a guy out of a BMW, like a very expensive car was in front of her and braking and, trying to antagonize her on the road. And she gave as good as she was getting in the end, to the point where when the traffic had stopped, the guy got out of the car, came up to her and started verbally abusing her in her car. And she always travelled with a knife in the car, just as protection, just to be sure that maybe, you never know. And she was telling me that for the first time ever, she was actually reaching down and she had one hand on that knife, fully expecting this guy to come in and start physically hurting her. And then, when she came back and she told me that, I got very upset about that. I'm like, oh God, because it sounded awful. And my response is, why do you antagonize? Like, why do you make it worse? Like, why do you have to provoke the situation? And then she's like, well, fuck him, fuck you and fuck him. Because why should I not? And in the end, she's right. She's absolutely right. Why should she not? She should stand up for herself, and she should, be strong, 100%. But thinking of it from my perspective, as the male in the discussion, I know that men 9 times out of 10 are physically stronger than women. Yes. So even if I agree, she should stand up, and women should stand up for themselves and for their rights, of course. But sometimes men take it further and they use force, and then it's really bad. And that's what I was worried about. But, it happens too, it happens, unfortunately.
And what did you learn from that time you having been as expatriate in another countries? What do you learn? Did you learn? Did you learn?
Yeah, what did I learn?
Was teaching?
What was the biggest learnings I had, you mean? Wow. There was a few, but I guess the biggest one was primarily patience.
Patience. Can you explain that?
I can. Whenever you need something done in Malaysia, and I can't speak for other foreign countries, but in Malaysia, it's very much when you get a worker come to the house to fix, for example, the internet service. You need the internet put on. Or you need the electricity, something with the electricity needs fixing, you need an electrician. They will come to your place, you arrange a time, they'll often be late. So they'll come at least an hour late to the time that you agreed on. Yes. And they get there and they won't say...
Oh, you mean patient, to be patient,
to
wait.
have patience.
Yeah,
yes,
wait.
Yes,
yeah,
to have patience.
Yeah.
And then they'll arrive and they won't even apologize for being late. It's just like they were supposed to be there at that time. For them, it's totally normal, right? And then you explain the situation to them, what you need done, and they kind of look at you with a, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but they look at you with a blank face. And you think to yourself the whole time, are they listening to me? Do they understand what I'm saying? When in fact they really are, but they just don't give you the engagement that you would typically have when you're talking with maybe another expat or another Westerner. And then they start that, and then they'll do the job. And they make a mess. They don't clean up after themselves. They're very slow with the job. It never really works after the first time they try. So they always have to come back and recheck it or refix it. So it's always this kind of a comedy of errors, And when I first moved there, again, coming from a first world country, and maybe I was a little bit overly pent up myself. I really struggled with accepting the way that they operated. And it took me a number of years before I could kind of just go,
to accept that.
Let it go. You just have to accept that that's just how they are.
I think they try to abuse a little bit from the expats people is coming there. For example, in the rents, okay? If you are going to rent an apartment, if you are not local, a normal flat, maybe they want to have from you it's happened to me, $4,000
Yeah.
is a lot of money for an apartment in
Yeah.
Buenos Aires. It's a lot of money, in Barrancas de Belgrano, Recoleta, in a very nice place there, but it's a lot of money for Argentina in that moment, and a normal local never will pay that kind of money for that. Or, for example, I had in that moment, nobody has a phone, mobile, never, nobody in Europe, never, the people doesn't know what is a mobile phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first mobile phone I saw was in Argentina, and then we get a mobile from, should pay the company. I don't know exactly how it was in that moment. The only thing I just know, we was calling from this mobile phone everywhere, right? And when I have to pay the bill doesn't come, and then come the bill, and it was about $4,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So I went to the we rented. First, we was living 1 month in the hotel, typical, because you need time to search the house and apartment or everywhere do you want to live the rest of the time. So, and then we took this mobile phone from, it's called Movicom. I think Movicom was the company in that moment, responsibility for that phone. I got that bill, $4,000. I was thinking, shit, what is that? $4,000, this cannot be. So I got a girlfriend of mine, English girl. She couldn't speak nothing Spanish, and she was but very pretty. I said, you come to me. We go to the office from Movicom. So we went to the office to Movicom, and before that, I called a girlfriend of mine, Nilda, a local girlfriend, and I told her, look, this has happened to me. I got a bill from $4,000 for nothing, for some calls, that's all, And she said, go there and you say that you are going to speak with Neustadt. And I said, okay, who is Neustadt? Neustadt is a journalist. He's always bringing on air all the problems is happen, and many millions of persons they hurt him, and he's always against many things, and this is a perfect tema for him. Told in the Movicom office that you Neustadt, and you go to call him and to explain what they are doing with you.
Yeah.
I said, okay, do it. I went there. My girlfriend, she was behind me, the English girl. She couldn't understand Spanish. I was of Spanish, putting him like there, la 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 la. I just could hear Rebecca behind me like, poor boy. All the time I was so at the end I got a bill, but just for $600. I think it was more or less normal.
Yeah.
It was not possible that I was spending more time in this bloody Movicom Ambita, offered.
Yeah.
And but this is the reason in Buenos Aires, the people are I think in all South of America, maybe Mexico less because they have another temperament. The Mexicana, they are really different. They are more national lovers. They are very proud about what they have. They're very proud people. Of course, there is in Mexico many people, they have not too much money, and it's very corrupt land.
Yeah.
And living many people, but Mexico is 54 million persons. It's a huge country in the world.
A lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. It's the 50% from USA.
Yeah.
But Argentina is less. The other countries, they are much little, and the people is like more. They don't protest. They are fucking them all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry that I said that.
No.
From behind,
there's
and
no
they
limit
don't
to language.
say nothing. Okay, they did it after, the corralito and things, but they have not that blood to that fire in the ash to protest us, say, don't fuck me. And when something from Europe is coming there and show the this, how we are, I say, hey, people, what are you doing here? I don't, I don't care who you are, Other sides, you have to be careful with who are you going and travel, because they have guns.
They do.
This is the thing. Is very difficult to manage situations there, and I can't believe if you are really in a big travel that you have to be very careful about yourself or your family as well. You know, and maybe this is the reason how many people doesn't say nothing, and it's safe if you. Going back, I say, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think there's corruption in almost any country. I think corruption exists everywhere, but I also think that corruption is amplified in those poorer countries where the people are more, I guess you could say in some way, regressed in terms of their having their own ability to speak up and to feel that they can safely speak up.
Yeah.
I mean, corruption in Malaysia is also rife. The political parties in Malaysia just alone have been corrupt for many, 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 many years. I mean, they throw political candidates in jail from the other parties if they are threatened by them too much. I mean, one candidate was constantly in jail, accused of being a homosexual when he clearly wasn't. I mean, he was married and he had family, but for some reason they brought on gay charges towards him, so he spent over 20 years in jail.
What they have there in Malaysia for a political regime? Was communist in that moment?
No. It's meant to be a democracy. It is meant to be a democratic society. But what we could go into politics on another topic, on another episode. But what do you consider democracy today? I mean, look at what's happening in Canada at the moment. Look what's happening in America, even in Australia, with the way these supposed democratic countries have been completely locked down.
At the moment, yeah.
So let's not go into that topic.
No.
However, what I will say is, like in Malaysia, for example, the people don't often have the ability to speak up. And they don't have, I guess the strength is probably the best thing to do it, because for so many years they've just been constantly
it's like
fucked
in South
over,
of America, it's the same. Yeah.
And they just put up with it. This
is the reason I understand too when they go to make guerrillas, or people is protesting outside, like building his little militaries resistance movement.
The guerrilla movements, yeah.
It's normal. No, just these people too, they are in one moment they go, the narcos is going there using that, or, it's not... at the end, this doesn't work. No. This to be in the guerrilla or to be in a movement against the government,
Yeah.
I don't know how you can clean these countries, but it's a lot of job. I don't think it's going to be one day everything clear. And this is a question. Maybe the people we are thinking, Julia, I think this is not very diplomatic or very good or very anyway, what you are saying. But don't you think that the people sometimes are in that way because not just of the culture, not just of the religion, not just of more because of the genetic? Do you think that the genetic in the people is changed? Is that I'm genetic not same like you, and genetic not same like an Asiatic person or like a South of American person? Because I feel that very strong in Germany, for example. German people, they have another head. I'm Spanish. We are very close, but I have completely another head, and people in Spain as well. And I don't think this is because our culture or way of life is in that way. I think we have a very good, healthy way of life in Spain.
Sure.
But we are not... Germans, they how I can tell you. For example, now with the corona, right? Before the corona rules that was coming, nobody was wanted to put mask.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He was a big protest. They get the rights from the persons, blah, 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 blah. So the first rule, put someone in the Requiron. I think Angela said, everybody wear mask. Oh, nobody said nothing more.
Yeah.
Everybody wear the mask. And if you go to supermarket and you are wearing the mask until here, the first person come and say, hey, wear your mask.
Yep.
Right, correctly. You know, in Spain, it doesn't happen that we are, I think the Germans, they need rules. I don't know if the genetic through the years is changing so in the form that they need rules to live.
Yeah.
And they cannot be spontaneous, they cannot be reacting.
Yeah.
Believe me, I think the genetic, I have a son from Brazil and I have another son from Uruguay, and my husband comes from Argentina and he has German genetic and Hungary genetic. You can see, even if he was learning in Argentina and grew up in Argentina and went in the school in Argentina, he's nothing Argentina, you know?
But he's lived his entire life in Germany, right?
Most of the time in Argentina. Now, of course, in Germany, you know, but he growing up there, he was there in the school, and, you know, he speak is the mother language, you know, as well as Spanish, but he's nothing. I think the people say you cannot make difference of genetic or of race. I say yes, I do, and I think it's nothing bad. It's like the dogs.
I know what you're
all
saying.
The dogs, they are not the same.
Yeah.
I have a dackel, and it's another character like Aki.
Yeah.
Als Boxton Terrier, and I think people we are in the same.
Yeah.
And I think through the generations, it's a genetic change there, and it's nothing bad to say that, but it is. I think. Not just the way of life, not just the politic, not just. I think inside we are in real different.
I hear everything you're saying. I hear everything that you're saying, but I in some ways disagree to a point whereby I think cultures of each country plays a dominant influence on the way the people are in those countries, and I also think historically what's happened in, let's just say, the last 100 years can influence a generation, like, for example, that we are currently living in now. And like you just said, here in Germany, when the mask mandates came in, before they came in, everyone was like, no, I don't want to wear a mask. But then Angela Merkel gets on television and everybody goes, oh, okay, Mother Merkel has spoken. We put on the masks now. And if one was down, yes, you would get called out in the supermarket. I typically have the feeling that the reason why it's like that here is because of what's happened in the last 100 years in this country. And without highlighting specifically, I think the listeners will probably understand what I'm talking about. But
of course,
I think that and the side effects of that influences the behavior of people today. That's not to say that their genetics are different. I just think that they are the result of things that have happened in the past and historically. And I think for countries like Malaysia and for poorer type of countries, I think genetically the people, they are the same. What I think influences their culture, their behavior, is their level of education, the access to education that they have. It's limited. Most people don't finish school if you're a local there. And I also think because they're in many ways repressed by corrupt governments, that influences the psyche of a person. It influences their ability to be able to think and speak freely without feeling like they're, going to get in trouble. So I think that is the key difference. And if you have people long enough in those environments, they're going to respond differently to different things. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree absolutely with you. But I wanted to go more deeper. Mm-hmm. Of course, the history makes people to be what we are now. And development from what's happened there now makes the person that you are now. Of course, but it is studies that, for example, a second war. like a Holocaust, for example,
Yep.
in Germany,
Yep.
or maybe the Twin Towers, the
Yep.
Twin Towers. The babies are born after the Twin Towers disaster, terrorismos. They have problems and they are difficult kids. They are afraid. They have another, and they never, these babies, they didn't see what really happened there. But genetical, you can erben. How is erben?
Inherit.
You can inherit fear. You can inherit love. You can inherit.
Yes.
Yes. This is what I mean.
I just wanted to say, I think these children.
And
yes.
this change your genetic.
Well, I don't know that it changes your genetics, but I think it changes your way of thinking.
I think it changes your genetics. You cannot be the same like person is living in the Caribbean with 40 degrees all the year, 80% Feuchtigkeit.
Humidity.
Yeah, but and the sun on vitamin.
No, you're right. But I think what you mean is
they're
seeing things. They're seeing things in a different way. Mm-hmm. Like they're living their life and they're experiencing life in a different way. When you're talking about genetics, you're talking about the physical DNA of an individual,
and
our
DNA,
the core fiber of
individuality is individual. First, we are
of course, but I don't know.
Nobody is the same like the other one.
Right. But I don't think that that the people's behaviors is a genetic.
I think some
is down to genetics.
I think for me, after how I observe and see the people through the years with the different persons I am.
Yeah.
For me, is 20 or 30% genetic herbe, like biological herbe in your genes, that you are in one way and your body are in one way and your body feel better with this behavior and the other feel better with this behavior because his body had more, maybe more serotonin, more adrenaline. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah. Let me bring you back to your example of the Twin Towers and children born after the Twin Towers. I think that because you said that this generation seems to have more, just a general more sense of fear.
Yes.
Yes, I think young people generally have a sense of fear, but I don't know that comes from them. I think it comes from the way their parents treated them after the Twin Towers.
No.
Because I think today, we were brought up and perhaps I was raised with a very strict father, an extremely strict environment. We didn't get a lot of comfort. I mean, that's not the right word to use. We lived very comfortably, but my father was very disciplined. He made sure that we worked very hard. He didn't give us anything easy. Today, I think parents make life almost too easy for their children. And this is what I'm trying to say, is after the Twin Towers, because it was such a traumatic incident for people that were experiencing it, that they felt then, and don't forget the world was driven from fear overall, because the wars that came after that were all fear driven. We have to get these guys, weapons of mass destruction, terrorists, fear. So the message from the political parties was only fear. So that message is being driven into the adults at the time who had young children. So the young adults with the young children, maybe even subconsciously, are driving on that message of fear to their children. I don't think that it's genetics. I think it's psyche.
I will tell you something.
Okay.
I'm sure, and we are not going to live to see that.
Okay.
We are not, because we are going to die.
We are going to die,
but I'm really sure in the way we are going, in the future way we are going, with very quickly everything, social medias everywhere.
Yeah.
Very big social distance between people, many food is like ready for taking. You don't need to cut carrots more. If you want, you can take everything like that.
You can get everything prepared.
Yeah, one day maybe you will going to have pills. You get a pill and you was eating all the day. You know what I mean? So I'm sure in many times, if we are going to be in that way, we are going to have a genetic change. That means we will not have more fingers, maybe just 3, because we don't need 5.
Yeah.
We are not going to have hair because we don't need, or maybe a lot of hair because it's going to be very cold. Depends how the climate is going to change. That is what I mean.
Okay. So you're talking more about evolution.
I mean, exactly. I mean the genetic changing because of the behavior in one concrete country through the history, of course, and through the years. Why the Indians in Amazonas, they don't have hair? Because they don't need it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
they don't need it.
Yeah, they've evolved past it.
Why the Indians in Amazonas, they need to have in blood maybe anticorps, antibodies from gripe. They don't need it because they don't have gripe, for example.
The gripe being the flu.
Yeah, flu. This is what I mean. I think, and I think it's this kind of genetic is going to it's not just body, what your genetic influence.
Okay, I see your point. I understand what you mean now.
This is what I mean, that the race.
So what you're saying is through those, that forces the evolution of the human race.
In different countries, of course, we are in the mood, and we have the possibility because we're very clever animal persons,
Yeah.
Mix,
say it. We are animals.
Yeah, to mix each other, to mix the cultures, to make each other, to mix and to adapt ourselves because it's part of our evolution progress as well, the adaptation, But I leave it in that way. The people can think what they think. It's just my opinion that I think we are not really all the same. I think I cannot expect it from my black son that he stays sitting in the chair if he has a paper on the ash because he's a Brazilian. He just heard him
drums.
Trump. Even never he saw a Trump in his life. He's just like
naturally it just of course.
This is what I mean.
Okay.
If you say a German guy, can you move your
hips?
Your hips, they cannot move the hips. They can't.
Sorry, German guys. Maybe some of you can. Maybe some of you can.
1%.
You never know. You never know.
Andrew, 1-2%. I prove that they can't. This is what I mean.
Yep.
And this, of course, there are little things people mustn't understand it. So in this concrete way, I'm saying, just in the general way, that I think that we are. This is what we was beginning to speak about expats. That I think different countries, different people, but why they are how they are. Don't you think that maybe they are in that way because they have to be in that way? That's what I mean.
Yes. I agree with that. And look, I think overall, the benefits of having an expat lifestyle are enormous. Living as an expat in a foreign country is a very rewarding and self-fulfilling experience. You grow as an individual from it, and when you do come back to your home country, you often come back with a wider appreciation of where you come from, what you have there, and you also have more tolerance. I think you just get more tolerance through seeing how other people live and experiencing maybe just a fraction of that lifestyle with them. Because at the end of the day, even as an expat in a poor country, you still live much, much better than most people. So I think, expat life is a wonderful opportunity. And if anybody has that opportunity, they should grab it with 2 hands and do it. But I see your point. I think overall, though, what I'm trying to say is from a genetics perspective, people are people, no matter what. And I think they're obviously then an outcome of their environment and their circumstances. And I think, some people have better opportunities than others. And that influences how certain cultures then are being, I guess you could say, lived. I think... I think we agree in theory what we're saying.
I think what I was learning all the time was to accept the people, or more than to accept, to understand why they do what they do.
Yeah.
You know, to understand that some things cannot be changed. Like I said before, sometimes it's better to don't get in trouble because they know how are the risks behind.
Yeah.
And this is they have many reasons how they act all the time. And of course, when you come from another country and you see what happened there, you want to act in another way. I don't know if it's always the right way to do it. For me, it's work, that to don't leave that someone go on me.
Yeah.
Like a foreign country person, like, hey, I'm here, but I'm not stupid, I don't know your rules, but I know my rules and my
Yeah.
But I am too a very adaptable person.
Adaptable, yeah.
Very.
Yeah, you're very flexible.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
And I always get the best from every corner.
Yeah.
I enjoy the food or not. I enjoy the music or not. I get the best from every corner where I am. But I have a very strong opinion about many things. And some people, when I'm speaking, they're very surprised how you can speak in that way. Maybe because I was living in 4-6 different countries.
Yeah.
Because with completely different cultures.
Yeah.
And at the end, you can build an opinion, and you can see difference. And this is sometimes because I speak sometimes strong about something.
Yeah, you are very opinionated about certain things.
Because I know the difference.
But there's nothing wrong with that either. I think it's important for people to have opinions. I think it's important for people to be able to express those opinions.
At the moment.
No, I know at the moment it's almost impossible. But that's a real problem with society in general. Everybody has a right to express their opinion. Whether you agree with that opinion is a different thing. You don't have to agree with that, but you should not take away the person's right to express it. And that's a real thing at the moment. So I think what we should really try to focus on with this podcast is that we do actually speak very freely with our opinions, and we express what we think, and we may disagree with each other. That's totally fine. It's not going to change the way I feel about you. It's not going to change my impression of you as a person. I know you as a person. You're a very good person. So, you might have opinions that some people might find different or perhaps even offensive. Okay, well, that's their problem if they're offended.
The thing is that I think we learned that, and that we can give an opinion because we was living in many countries and had this experience, and we are not mere the young person.
No, we're not young anymore. Thank you for reminding me.
And the only thing I try to say is the young people, they have to do it too. They have to travel. They have to get the
they need to get the experience.
The experience, and after then to not be all the time the social media. If they do, or if they want to do, because it's the future, they may be to make it alternate one thing with the other one, to have experience outside and inside the social media. And I think for me, it's healthy. I think it's healthy. It's good. Give you a lot of stability and basis.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it gives you a lot of self...
And this is your life.
Right.
You cannot spend your life sitting in the chair all the time for a wheelchair. You can do it, but it will be very, very bad if you do it all.
But that's a very unfortunate way of living life if that's what you're doing. You don't. And Bildschirm is a monitor, just for those who don't understand what that means. Sitting in front of a monitor the whole day. Yeah. Yes, that's a horrible thing to do because as people we need to be with other people. It's part of our core. We need to interact with other people physically, not just through a virtual environment. And it seems like, and we can perhaps use this as another opportunity to talk on a different topic about this on another session. But it seems like overall society is moving into a virtual environment more and more and more, and drawing us away from the ability or the opportunity to have real people-to-people experiences, So, it's very interesting times that we're living in. So, anyway, listen, it's over an hour now.
Oh.
We're coming to the end of the session, so I think we've been ranting on long enough. And it's been a good discussion about expats. We can maybe even pick up on another one and bring in other
because we need
experiences.
We need to compare how is one country and how is the other country. We didn't do that.
That's right. And I wanted to ask you what you felt moving from Spain to England, and if there was a massive difference in cultures, given that they were both first world countries as well. So maybe on another session we can pick up on that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you didn't speak about Germany and you're in German.
That's right. I haven't even mentioned Germany at all, have I?
Yeah, just ASEAN and I think we need to have another podcast.
All right.
And to explain the people, maybe they want to know how are the different countries, or how you feel there and why.
Yeah. All right, let's do that then. Okay. So then until next time.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that session. And we'll have some more coming out more regularly now that we're back into the swing of things.
Yes, we are not to record often,
right.
no?
Yep.
Maybe once a week.
Once a week, we will try.
We will try.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.